Introducing New South Wales Trustee and Guardian, the state's largest will maker. Our experts can help you make or update your will and then store it for you too. With our flexible consultations, you can start the process online, call us, or simply drop into one of our 9 offices throughout New South Wales. We make preparing a will easy. While some things have changed over the years, others remain the same for a good reason. New South Wales Trustee and Guardian, writing wills for ages. Start your will today. Visit tag.nsw.gov.au or call 1300 10 20 30. For fees and charges, please see our website.
We know that you guys can find moving house really stressful. It can be a little bit like herding cats to make sure all the boxes are in the right place, the removal lists know where to go, and everything is set up at your new house. So on your first night, you can sleep calmly and in peace.
Moving throws almost every single element of our lives into disarray. A moment of good energy amidst the madness can only be a good thing.
Origin Energy has power on next business day when you sign up before 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Call 13MOVE or search Origin Moves. Origin, good energy.
Residential electricity customers only. Must provide safe access to the electricity meter, excludes public holidays, and availability criteria applies.
Hi, I'm Amy.
Hi, I'm Kirsty.
And we are the Art of Decluttering, and we are so excited to be here with you today because we also have a guest in the studio and a topic that you have requested 6 bajillion times.
And we're here with Chantal from Photos in Order. So she is our colleague who specialises in photo organising. So we thought, let's bring in an expert.
Welcome, Chantal.
Hello.
You've just come back from the beach.
I have. Was great.
So nice. Lots of photos people take down at the beach.
About 2.
You were too busy gas bagging with your girlfriends.
Yes, probably. No, I've actually changed in terms of, when you constantly organise photos, you start taking less photos.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you start decluttering all your stuff,
That's
you
true.
realise,
You buy less.
let's be thoughtful about what comes in.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, the first question that we have for you, Chantal, is what is the point of taking photos?
That's a good question. Well, that can be very personal, but in general, it's really that we want to remember a moment. That's, every second it's already gone. So we want to be able to somehow remember that. And that's why we take photos. That's probably most of the time, that's the reason.
Should we take more or less, do you think?
Please don't take more. No, not really. Most of us do have way too many, me included. I'm getting better because I work with it. But look, it's just people are so overwhelmed by the sheer number of photos they have these days because we carry our cameras around with us at all times with the phone. So we just take too many photos at all times, and we don't just take one photo because, the kid is cute at whatever they do or their school performance or whatever, and you take a million photos. You only need one.
Which is really funny. Like, it's so different from when we used to, it would take 3 weeks to get your film back. Well, it would take 3 weeks to finish a film, and that would be a quick time frame of films. Like sometimes I was in a client's home the other day and we found an old camera and it still had film in it. And I was all like, yeah, let's just expose all of that because you're not going to pay the exorbitant price to get it.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point is that when photos cost a lot of money, we used to be more deliberate, but we took a couple more because we weren't sure if we got a good shot. Now you can tell instantly if you've got a good shot, and yet we still take 5 just in case. Yep. Jared just did that of us out the front just now. And now I have to delete them all off my phone. And I'm never going to because I've got 21,000 photos on my phone.
That's not
Is
too
that
bad.
actually true?
Yes. 21,000.
Chantal,
Okay.
is that a lot?
No.
Really?
There's people out there with way more photos on their camera roll than that. Yeah.
For those listening, I'm literally opening my camera roll right now
Do you
to see how many photos I have on it.
do you clear out your photos often, Amy?
Almost daily.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, that's
you're
good.
weird. You make Chantal happy, but you're weird.
Oh, that's
You have way too much time on your hands.
This is a peak. I've got 164.
Oh, are you having heart
But
palpitations?
like 15 of those was taken today, and I've got a client load of photos on there. So
Right.
that's more than I ever have. Okay, Jared's just saying over in our headphones he's got 2,606.
That's
Chantal,
pretty good.
have you got your phone there? Do you want to tell us how many you've got on?
I haven't got it at hand, but I just downloaded them the other week, so I probably have about 50 on there at the moment. And look, that's the thing with technology. It changes so quickly these days. And nowadays you can take a photo on your phone and through the cloud it will pop up on your computer automatically. So it's all synchronized, which is great, but it also means that you have your whole photo collection on your phone. And for me personally, I found I don't need that. So I don't actually download them through the cloud. I do it manually and then I delete them off the phone.
I do the same. And it saves so many photos being unnecessarily on the computer and unfiled on the computer.
Yeah.
Come on, Kirst.
Yeah, I literally have 21,000.
Are they on your computer as well? Yeah, they would be because you're all synced up, aren't you?
They're only synced.
Okay, but they're not filed or anything?
No,
Right.
they're in a recent
So-
folder. That's why I was like a little scared to have Chantal, and why I haven't listened to many of her podcasts because I'm like, I'm not going there. That can be my dirty little secret, which is now public knowledge secret.
Sorry.
But then tell me, Kirsty, do you back up your phone? How do you back up your photos?
Nothing.
There's a whole lot of head shaking going on here.
I've got crickets for you, Chantal. I think I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
These are
pretty
good
common.
questions.
You're in good company. That's pretty
I
common.
know. I
Yeah.
know. I think I back it up every now and again,
How?
but Apple tells me to back it up.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not an Apple, so I don't have any of that.
Right.
No, you're an
Stuff.
Amy.
I'm an Amy.
You're
I said
your own
I'm
brand.
not an Apple.
I'm not on Apple. But I am Amy. But I'm on Android.
Yeah,
And
we also
Windows?
use Google
And
Photos
Windows.
on our phones too.
Okay.
so-
Yeah.
Tell me, what should I do, Chantal? See, you're
Well.
speaking. I'm probably guessing that we're on Team Kirsty. Most of our listeners are Team Kirsty.
I would imagine
Team
so.
Amy.
It's probably unlikely that they're on Team
Yeah.
Amy, which has her photos filed by. Can I just interrupt with a second just to let everyone know the intricacies of my brain? When you have a baby, for the first 6 weeks, you file the photos by week. Week 1, week
By
2,
day.
week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. Then from there, you file monthly. So April, May, June, July, till you get to 2 years. And at 24 months, you go to yearly. And so then my children have 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. And there's a folder for everything and everything's in the right folder. And now once they hit, I think it was 7 or 8, it becomes a family folder. So Revel 2019.
Right.
There's
That's
a lot
great.
of folders, but they're organised.
So you can find a photo pretty quickly if you need to.
If I can remember the year, the older I
She
get, the
hasn't
harder
read
that
it.
gets.
She hasn't got. You haven't. Have you renamed them or?
No, they're all
No
their
tags.
original, no tags.
Okay.
So let's go back to Kirst because I think a lot of this is relevant. Let's deflect.
Because I could improve,
Yes.
but I don't want to.
No, I do want to because all I have is folders. So I was just giving people like an idea of, yes,
Yes.
I'm organised,
Yeah.
but I'm not, I couldn't find something unless I could
It's
remember
like the
the year.
first step in being organised with photos to have some sort of folders. If you work
Okay.
with a, totally software independent, simple folder structure, and that can work great. What would be next is for you to add metadata, to possibly rename files, to rate them, like to, star rating.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that, so that you make them searchable, that you can find them quickly and do your photo books or whatever you want to do. That's what most people want to do. They, I think probably 99% of my clients, when you ask them, so why do you want to, do that whole big project, because it is always big, most of the time they want to do photo books, like annual yearbooks.
That's a good idea. So what should Kirst do as the first step?
As a first step. So you've got an iPhone and a Windows or a Mac. Mac. That's easy.
No.
It's my favourite.
Yes.
The Apple ecosystem. So you were thinking, so what's happening when you set up the phone correctly? You take a photo, it goes up to the cloud. When you turn on your computer, it will download to your computer when you open the native Photos app. And whatever you change in there will go back through the cloud onto your phone. So it's completely synced. And if you delete photos off the phone, they will be gone eventually on your computer as well. And that's actually something that a lot of people don't understand. They think that they are backing up their photos, but they're not. Then they delete them off the phone to make space, and they lose them because they actually then gone everywhere.
Oh,
so there is a bit of danger too in that technology.
So syncing and backing up are two different functions.
Totally different, yeah.
That's good to know.
Syncing, I always explain, is like a two-way road, and backing up is like a one-way road. You send the data to wherever to back it up, and you don't touch it. It just sits there. So you start with that. So you get it back, you get it down to your computer, and that's where your gathering point. That can be your photo hub. And if you go on a holiday, maybe and you take a big camera with you, not just a phone, you can also add them to that hub, and then they will pop up on your phone, which is pretty cool. And you can add tags and keywords. You can make albums. And the albums, they're not like folders. They're just like virtual albums. So, and again, it translates, it comes over to the phone. So what you see on your screen on the computer, you see on the phone. But importantly, what you, of course, need to do is to back up your computer.
Does Google Drive count as a backup?
Google Drive, yes, it can. Yeah, you can, and that's the thing with photo organizing. It's there are so many
Endless.
options. There are so many variables in a photo project. There's not one solution that fits everyone. And some people are very tech savvy, others are a bit less, and you got to find the right solution for them.
Why do you think people place so much value on photos?
It's just sentimental because, again, it brings us back to that moment in time that we want to remember. I believe on a deeper level, really, photos are so important that because they help us to connect with people, they help us to connect with our own stories, with where we come from. We've all got roots, and even if we see photos of people that we've never met in our lives, like our great-great-parents or something, I feel, for me personally, that not everyone might feel that. For me, I find this is valuable. It gives me that sense of belonging. That's where I come from. Without these people, you wouldn't be there. So I think that's a big part of it.
How do you think we cope with that really crippling fear of losing photos, losing videos? And so as a result, we often just hold on to every single thing because we're just scared.
Yes.
How do we handle that?
By learning how to manage it. That's the overwhelm that I see all the time. And it's not even a question of age. It doesn't mean that, only maybe elderly people struggle with that. It's even younger ones where, in their 20s, 30s who struggle because, yes, they are like the generation who grow up with all these things and with the phones and what have you. But a lot of them actually they don't really know what's going on.
True.
So you got to educate people. And for me, as a professional photo organizer, one goal is always to find a solution that works for the individual client. And again, that's very individual. And one of my main goals is always to work with what they already have. So it's not about getting fancy photo management software. That's usually not necessary. If you're not maybe a photographer who really has a lot of photos and needs to catalogue them, everything is feasible in a simple folder structure. Just what you do, Amy. Yeah.
What Kirsten and I find a lot is that people have old phones, old iPads, old laptops, and we're like, do you use this anymore? No. When was the last time you used it? 5 years ago. Okay, so all the data on there, you're not going to use again. Even your old resume, that's all gone. But there's such a fear of, but what if there's photos on it? I don't even have the charger, or I have CDs or floppy disks. Yeah. There's so much just being withheld in homes because we just don't know what to do with it. Is it possible to get photos off old devices that we don't have the chargers for?
Yeah.
All right, how?
Well, if you don't have the chargers for it, that might be a bit of a problem. A photo organizer, that they often do have chargers for all the things that they sort of have in their kit, but not all the time, of course. But there are businesses out there as well who convert and who get data off old devices professionally. So it can be done. It's not all lost. It can happen that I know that even with newer phones, if you don't have the access code, it's very, very tricky. It's, there's almost no way to get to the photos. That's why we're always very strongly advocating for backing up. You need to get these photos down the devices. You can still have them there, but at least put them on your computer, have them somewhere. But it's very common. We always find a whole heap of old devices and old computers, and yeah.
So one thing that I always challenge my clients with when they do that is I'm like, well, when are you going to pay for the professional photo organizer, or when are you going to pay to go and get it done by a professional who can retrieve this? And they're like, I don't know, and I'm not sure if I ever am. And I'm like, well, then
what's the point?
Yeah. Like, why are we keeping it? But it's such a deep-seated, no, what if I've got that one photo of my baby's first birthday and it's the only photo I've got? I'm like, but you don't know that right now. Like,
yeah.
So, and I think that that's even harder now when we take 20,000 photos of just in the last couple of years since I've had that phone. Like, I have deleted some. I just don't find the time or the inclination to delete. That's my biggest problem. I don't even know what I do have because I just don't go back and look at photos very often. And I know this isn't everybody, I'm just speaking about myself, but I don't even have the inclination to do yearly photo books at the moment. Life is really, full with our business and full with life. So, it's only when kids need to do projects and to be honest, the only time I go back and look at memories is when Facebook tell me.
Yes, I love those.
I'm like, oh, look, thank you, Facebook. You've shown me this beautiful memory.
But that's not going to keep going. Like, I don't post any photos on, well, hardly.
No.
So that's going to change because we're not going to get those memories anymore. Because we're not creating them.
Yes, but if we're not creating them, then
where are the photos?
There's no photos. Yeah. If we're not taking photos, like you and I have just spoken about how we often forget to take photos with guests that come in. And it's the same. I'm trying to be more present with my children. So I'm trying not to snap and get in their face and take a million photos of every occasion. That doesn't always happen. I'm often taking lots of photos. But it's just this whole, sorry, I'm just rambling about this whole psychology around, I have been guilty of taking a photo only for the purpose of Facebook.
Yes. Yeah.
So then, and if it's going on Facebook, I don't need to keep it. And I don't want to trust Facebook to keep it.
Oh, no, you can't, no.
So, but yeah, it's a whole rabbit warren we can fall down.
I think people are feeling all those things that you're saying. They're thinking that, they're feeling that, they have the same fears.
Yeah.
I don't think you're alone in that.
And look, it's just what you just said about Facebook. I take photos that are just for that one purpose, to post it on social media. I take photos of food, right? But the difference might be that when I've posted it, I delete it off my camera because it's not a photo that I need in my family photo collection.
Yeah.
Unless it was a very special meal or something, obviously, you know. So and that's all good. There's no right and wrong. And what you also just mentioned is, you know, you got to nip it in the bud.
Yes.
And that's where does it start? In actually taking the photos. So let's just take few photos and be in the moment more and be present. And we don't need a million photos to bring us back to that moment.
Are you loving getting into decluttering and organising? Are you excited to get into different spaces in your house and just see the transformation that is possible? But are you also finding that there are some things that just aren't sticking, that you're finding that you just don't have the routine or the system to really hold you where you want to be? Well, Kirsty and I have developed the Art of Decluttering online course, which is an amazing 6-module self-paced course with an interactive Facebook community. So if you want to go from overwhelmed to just nailing this decluttering thing, we would love you to join us. You just visit artofdecluttering.com.au/course. We have payment plans available. Access it today and see that transformation that you've been dreaming of. Have an organised home that stays organised for life. We cannot wait to see you in the course. One of the things I find helpful is I use my gallery on my phone, so the 164 photos, as a to-do list. So what I've got on there is 2 clients' session photos that I know I need to do before and afters on. And if there's a screenshot of something I need to do, which is often, you know, I'm screenshotting all the time as to-do lists, but once that's done, I delete it.
Yeah.
And once I get, there's probably maybe 6 photos that I keep on there. That's kind of it. But when you've got 21,000, it's like when people have too many emails. It's a big job to get it down to that running as your to-do list. Yeah. But it's worth it.
So maybe I shouldn't say that, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Bring it on, baby.
The way I see it, you can approach it from 2 ways. You can declutter, which is obviously my favourite way to, you know, minimise things, keep it low. Declutter and then organise and make things suitable. That's one way. The other way, and, you know, within the industry, we talk a bit about things like that, and it seems to be a bit, maybe it becomes a bit more of a trend to actually, you know what, forget about deleting, but we need better ways to manage the photos. So, as you just said, you don't get to delete them. You don't take the time or don't have the time, whatever, and that's fine. But maybe instead you could take the time to love heart your photos. When you're on an Apple phone, you've got the love heart. I'm sure you've got a similar thing on Android.
Probably.
Somehow to, you know, your favourite photos. And that already, even though you've still got thousands of photos, at least you would have an album, and that's actually created automatically with your favourites.
I had that because I've got an Apple Watch, so I wanted photos on my Apple Watch, so I created a favourites album.
Yeah, so that might be easier for some people to actually think about. Okay, don't worry about the amount, but I need to find a way how to catalogue or to manage them in a way so that I can quickly get at the best ones, and just forget about the other ones. And then, of course, you can think about, okay, so why on earth do I keep the other ones? But as you said, it takes time.
I know what I'm doing on the flight back home to Sydney.
Oh, yeah. Can you give us an update when you get home? I'd love you to take a screenshot when you're leaving and then a screenshot when you land. And let's
I'm
see
pretty
what you get.
tired. I might just sleep on the plane.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but if you feel inspired.
But if I'm inspired, I will do that and I'll let you all know.
Awesome.
So what is our next step? Like, how do we back up? And do we need to have like 3 backups, and do they need to be off-site? And, you know, because we're in bushfire season. We're recording this in November just as all the New South Wales and the Queensland fires are ravaging houses. You know, hundreds of houses have been lost, and that's obviously, unfortunately, makes a boom for your business because people are good for you, unfortunate for the people, and unfortunate and and it's fear-inducing for the rest of us who are thankful enough to have our houses. So what does that look like? What should we be doing in case of fire or disaster? Or
Yeah, look, in reality, and what you just mentioned, the fires, this was actually one of the triggers for me to start specialising in photo organising, because I do live in Eltham, which is very fire prone. When we came here to Australia, a few years later, the Black Saturday fire happened very close to home, and that really, that was a huge eye-opener, because I'm from Switzerland. We don't get bushfires and earthquakes and tornadoes and I don't know what. So it was like, oh, what's going on here? Oh, we need a fire plan and all that stuff. So that was new, and that's sort of what triggered my interest in photo organising, actually. And because it's so precious, you don't want to lose it. So that's where backing up comes in. Even if you don't do anything else with your photos, I always encourage people to back up. Do at least that. Even if you don't organise or you don't even pick your favourites, who cares? Back them up so at least you got them, because if you lose them, you've lost them, they're gone. So we do the 3-2-1 backup method, which is basically 3 copies on 2 different devices and one of them kept off-site, not offline, off-site. What that could mean, as an example, would be you've got your master file, so to speak. So in Kirsty's case, that will be on your Mac, on your computer. That's your master, right? Your original, so to speak. Then you create a backup to an external hard drive, and you create another backup to either another external hard drive that you then keep away from home, or rather than another external drive, you use the cloud. But you gotta use a good cloud backup program, not just, backing up photos in Facebook is not a backup. So you need to choose the right stuff, and that's what we recommend. And it's not me who's come up with that. That's just an industry standard best practice to have the 3-2-1. And, by the way, that goes for all digital data, not just photos, of course. And I do like the cloud backup, but it's not for everyone, because especially here where Eltham is not too bad, but next door in Warrandyte or so, they often don't have good enough internet connection. So you can't use a cloud backup. You need to find other strategies and ways. And an external hard drive is the easiest to do. Keep that away from home.
So Chantal, that sounds like the plan for the digital photos. What about the 80s and 90s printed albums that we all have with the plastic film on top, and we have, our parents have them and we've inherited some. What do we do with those photos?
Yeah, that's a bit trickier, obviously. So the only way to back these up is to scan them. Which, as you can imagine, is not an easy job in most cases, especially if they stuck to albums. Then, sometimes it's easy to take them out, and while you do that, you actually declutter and get rid of a lot of these photos. I've gone through these processes for my own photos and family photos too, and I learned a few lessons with that, and one is that scenery photos, you don't need them. In the end, what you want is photos with your loved ones. That's my personal opinion and experience. But so you scan them, and
especially scenery photos now, because you can just Google.
Yeah, I know. And look, I always say and I've done that, and I still do it. But, you go to Paris. Let's imagine you go to Paris, Eiffel Tower. You take a photo. Everyone does that, me included. But when you go back to that years later, as you say, you can just Google that and you will find better photos. And what is valuable is a photo with you and the Eiffel Tower. And actually, once you start, organising your photos and going through them and decluttering them, what I always find, it does automatically change how you take photos. And I was never a fan of selfies, but honestly, especially as moms, we're often not in the picture. So, take selfies. Doesn't matter if they're not perfect, but they document. that we were there, or, you know, at an event or whatever.
And it also gives our kids photos to look back on, like when we, you know, when we do pass on. That's because I was going to ask the same question. Like, I know that I got a digital camera in the mid-2000s. So before that, I didn't necessarily put everything in photo albums. We just cost a fortune to print them all out, and half the photos are not so good anyway, or sceneries. But yeah, what's your best advice for scanning them? Do we go out and buy a fast scanner? Do we pay for you to scan them all for us? Do we, like, there are two options. What are some other options?
Of course you pay for me.
Yes, that's right. And you can service clients anywhere in the world.
Yeah, we scan. Well, theoretically also with scanning, because you can mail them. But a lot of people, which is completely understandable, wouldn't post their photos because they are so precious. But yeah, digital, yeah, absolutely. That's easy with remote. But with scanning, look, can be anything. I've taught people to scan their photos themselves. So I taught them, go and buy this scanner from Officeworks, nothing fancy, but a special photo scanner. That's always better than these functional machines like, you know, the copier and printer and scanner, because they are made to scan documents and not photos. So if you do invest, at least get and they're not so expensive, but they're made for photo scanning, and they can also scan like slides and negatives, which is really good. Yeah, and it's easy to set up. It's time consuming, because the one that I'm thinking of, that's a flatbed scanner. So you have to lift the lid, put your photo down. You can scan more than one photo at once. There are high-speed scanners that are quite expensive, that work basic, you know, they've got an automatic feeder, and it's like a copier. It goes like a second and the photo's scanned. They're great. But for older, especially fragile photos, that's not an option. There are A3 scanners which are really great if you need to scan complete albums, if you don't want to take apart the albums. Because sometimes, you know, if someone's a scrapbooker, they put a lot of effort and time and love in a scrapbook. You don't want to rip it apart. But in order to back it up, you can scan the whole page.
And there's some photos that they're 50 years old, and they've been on that sticky paper and had that sticky paper on top of it, that when you try to take it off, particularly not a professional photo organizer, but me, the photo ends up ripping, and you're like, ah.
Yeah.
Talking of those old photos, what do you suggest for sharing photos amongst family members? So say my grandma passes down her photos. How do we all get a copy? Is it the scan? Is that or a shared album?
The scan. Okay. Definitely the scan. This is the really cool thing about the digital age, because once it's scanned, that's also a good thing about scanning. You do it once, then it's done. It's not like an ongoing thing. And you add it to your photo collection, and then you can share it so easily. And there's a few, you know, programs and apps out there, cloud-based, that are really, really good, where you can share these family photos. Other people, if you, for example, have old photos and you don't know who's in the photo, or why were they there, or whatever, you can share that in that app, and other people can add information to the picture and say, oh yeah, you know, that's Uncle Paul, whatever. Or tell a story in the description field. They can write down the whole story, because of course that's the other thing why our photos are so important, is because they tell a story. And they remind us of that story, and we were people of stories. So that's you know, that's very powerful. And talking of scanning like whole family collections and sharing them, it's just a wonderful experience. And again, I feel it can really connect people on a different level. And you know, then when you look at the photos, suddenly stories emerge out of the blue that you've never heard. I always recommend clients, like, you know, in, let's say, retirement age, if they want to scan their collection, and if they want to do it themselves, I usually tell them, look, if you have children, if you have a good relationship, maybe you want to do that with one or with all of your children, because it's a wonderful experience to go through the photos together. And it's not like you look at each photo and then, you know, half an hour later you get to the next.
Yeah,
That's not very
torturous.
efficient. But that there will be stories told that emerge, and it's just wonderful. I've done that with my mom, and it was just so beautiful. And I will always, you know, carry that with me. That's has created a new valuable memory. And that's what I want people to experience, that, you know, that connection. And yeah.
What are some other ways of honouring our photos and sharing our stories?
That's exactly the challenge, what we mentioned before. You know, we've got all these photos, but we don't actually look at them, let alone share them, apart maybe from in the social media. But the cloud comes in, but also to honour and to sort of get back photos into our lives. It's very personal again. Some people like this, others like that. One thing that I personally like, because I've never been a big scrapbooker. I've done a few, you know, I do photo books for our family, but not many. But I got a really cool digital frame, and that's all wirelessly. So when I take a photo, I can email it to an address and it pops up in the living room on the frame. And I got my mum one of these frames too, so she's overseas. So now I can just, you know, when I've got a photo from one of the grandkids, can just email that and it pops up in her living room, and it's just so
That's
cool.
unreal.
So, and it's always there, and you know, it circulates. You've got a whole library, like you can upload about 1,000 pictures or something, so you can change it. That's one of my favorite ways. A lot of people really want to do the photo books because people like to touch things. So, you know, you can do fancy slideshows and all that stuff, and that's great, but mostly what people want is touch it and have the photo books in their hands.
Is there somewhere you'd recommend to our listeners that they could go to?
Yeah, I love it's actually Sydney-based company called Momento. They're awesome. They've got great quality. Their software is really great. You can do the book all offline, and when you're ready, you've reviewed it, and when it's done, you can upload it, and 2 weeks later, you've got your photo book in your hand.
Momento.
And Momento. They're really good.
I use them.
Oh, do you? Awesome. There you go. We'll put that in the show notes.
And the good thing about, you know, with photo books is, of course, as opposed to the 80s photo books, you create a book and you can order 10 of the same if need to be. And again, that's a great way to share when you have scanned old family photos. And especially if you go further than scanning and you adding metadata like people's names, places, all that information about the picture, even a story description, you can then share that and have like these virtual albums, like, okay, this is from family so-and-so, you know, from which branch of the family tree, that there's a whole world out there that I'm not an expert in, but you can do so much. Yeah.
That's awesome. Chantal, where can people find you, your podcast and your business, if they're wanting to find you online?
My business is photosinorder.com.au. And as you said, I'm a co-host of the podcast DIY Photo Organising, together with lovely Fiona. And actually, when you've got scanning questions, she's specialising in that, and she can do really cool stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Chantal. As we said,
Thank you.
people have been busting our humps to get this episode
We're so
out.
glad we got you in here.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
I have to thank you, ladies.
We've had lots of fun. If you've got any extra questions about photos or tips that you use yourself, jump into our Facebook community this week and we'll be a hive of photo organising activity.
Do you have a reviews to read today?
I do. Thank you for that reminder. Shuffle. Okay, I've got 2 reviews. Both are from Facebook. So this one's from Harrison Adams. It's a 5-star review. It says, supportive, non-judgmental, honest discussion with an enthusiasm for decluttering and the genuine warmth that comes from a deep friendship. I think that's us. They continue to discover new things about each other and themselves while they share their experience and wisdom with a healthy side with a healthy side of candid humility and humour. That's a beautiful review. Thanks, and
Harry.
this one's from Maria Hetom on Facebook, 5-star review. I love listening to the podcast. These 2 girls are funny and lighthearted, and it just makes me want to get in there and declutter what they talk about and make a trip to IKEA. I'm binge listening to this enjoyable duo. Thanks, ladies. Thank you for leaving those reviews. We always love them. It helps people to find our podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
If you've learnt something awesome today, we'd love you to leave us a review on iTunes or Facebook so others can find our podcast too.
Don't forget you can see the show notes in your podcast app or over at our website, artofdecluttering.com.au. So if there's anything you want more info on, check it out there.
If you'd like to join our supporter community, you can do so over at patreon.com/theartofdecluttering.
We hope you have a great rest of your day.
And enjoy the freedom.
Problems. It's human nature to hate problems. But why is that? After all, problems inspire us to mend things, bend things, make things better. That's why so many people work with IBM on everything from city traffic to ocean plastic, new schools to new energy, flight delays to food safety. Smart loves problems. IBM. Let's put smart to work. Visit ibm.com/smart to learn more.